Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Shelley, and before we start, I'd like to just acknowledge everyone who made this service possible this morning. Of course, Sensei, Reverend Gibbs, our organist this morning, Kathy Kumagai, Kyoko Okuda Gibbs for doing the really pretty summery flowers today, Kyoko. Really nice. And the streaming of the service this morning, Alan Goto. Of course, on the first Sunday of every month, as you know, we observe monthly memorial, Shotsuki Hoyo, for our members who have passed away during the month of July. Sensei is now going to read the names of those loved ones who passed away this month, in whose memory this service is being conducted. So for those of you who are observing today's service in recognition of your family member or loved one, please come forward as Sensei reads the name of your departed loved one to offer incense.
Yeah, thank you, Shelley. And, Kathy will be kind enough to play background music as I read the names. The names are very important to the family and to me, and I hope to many of you. This tradition of reading the name aloud, you've left this mark that will go on indefinitely into the future. You have been important to us. These are those whom we know have passed on in the month of July who have been very important to us. If I may begin. July Shotsuki Hoyo list. Alita Sachiko. Dehari Shigeko. Doi Takuichi. Domen Kazuyuki. Fujikawa Kiyo. Fujimoto Nobuo. Funada Eiji. Furumoto Doji. Goto Shigeo. Hamano Masashi. Hayashi Emiko. Hayashi Sasuke. Hirata Chinami. Inoue Theodore Ted Takao. Jofuku Yukitoshi. Kamon Matsujiro. Kawahara Toki. Kiho John. Kimura Kazue. Kodama Takao. Kosuge Nancy. Masai Dan. Masumoto Michi. Matsubara Daikichi. Morihiro Misako. Nagayama Hichiro. Naito Frank Keizuchi. Naito Imao. Naito Yukio. Nakamura Towa. Nakanishi Tadatsugi. Nakatani Sayo. Nishimoto Yukio. Nishimura Roy Kazuo. Noda Masako. Ogura Nancy. Ogura Ukichi. Okazaki Yukie. Omokawa Kanichi. Oshita Matsuyo. Otani Tasaburo. Otani Ukimi. Oyama Mitsue. Sano Sadao. Sato Kiyokichi. Sato Toshi. Sarah Nobuo. Severance Eugenia Marie. Shiba Jinosuke. Shigeishi James. Shimoda Mizu. Suda Lily Yuriko. Sugita Jiro. Sugasawala Tatsunosuke. Taguchi Gokichi. Tamura Kazumi. Tanaka E. Tokuda Okichi. Yamaguchi Yuri. Yamasaki Jokichi, Yamasaki Mitsuyo. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Namo.
Will the Sangha please rise for meditative reading? Our life is filled with warmth in sharing life with others. It is a simple truth to learn, but a difficult practice to fully realize. In personal life, it means to act by placing ourselves in the position of another, and in community life, it means to give service with joy and gratitude for the betterment of all. The practice of making others happy is based upon the clear understanding of life, which is oneness. In deep gratitude, let us realize the oneness of all life, the heart of which is compassion. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you. Please be seated. At this time, we'll have sutra chanting. This morning for memorial service, it will be Sambutsuge, which is on page 33.
Busatsu Daimoryo Jukyo Sanbutsuge Hogen Gigi Ijin Mugoku Yode Enmyo Uyo Tosya Nichigatmani Shuko Enyo Kaishtonpe Yunyaku Jumoku Nyorai Yogen Chothe Murin Shongaku Daion Koru Jippo Kaimon Hyojin Sammai Chie Itoku Muryo Shusho Keiyu Jintai Lennen Shobuten Hokai Ujin Jinno Kungo Gaitai Mumyo Yokunu Seison Yomu Minno Shi Jintoku Muryo Kukun Kodai Shie Jinmyo Komyo Iso Shindo Daisen Ganga Sabuten Daisho Kado Shoji Mifuge Daten Fute Joi Hainin Shojin Nyode Sammai Chie Ijo Kote Tokubuten Fugyo Shigan Issai Kuku Issa Dayan Keshi Ubuten Yakusen Okuman Uryon Daisho Shunyong Onya Kuyo Issai Shito Shobuten Funyo Gudo Kensho Fungyaku Hinyong O Shobuten Tekai Ufu Kage Mushu Tetendo Komyo Shisho 天子小国女帝小人一人南了よがた仏国と第一公衆奇妙道場長年国女内音身無ととがと愛民道達一切実法来生新年少女糸が国経楽安穏公仏神妙霊が神書発願の日力小小欲実法定尊知恵無下上領子孫知が信行軽量心死食読中家業精進な人寿不敬ナマナブナマナブナマナブナマナブナマナブナマナブガニシクドク平等性一切道も大心恩用安楽国ナマンダブルマンダナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブルマンダナモミラブツナモミラブツナモミラブツナモミラブツナモミラブツナモラブツ
Will the Sangha please rise for Gatha Ondok San 2? It's on page 146.
Thank you very much, and as Shelley mentioned, please remain standing. We're going to read together the reflective reading on page 9, the bottom of the page, Shin Buddhist Life Principles. If you will, join me on the first line, Shin Buddhist Life Principles. And trusting in the vow of the Buddha, calling out the Buddha's name, I will pass through the journey of life with strength and joy. Revering the light of the Buddha, reflecting upon my imperfect self, I will strive to live a life of gratitude. Following the teachings of the Buddha, discerning the right path, I will share the true Dharma with all. Rejoicing in the compassion of the Buddha, respecting and aiding all sentient beings, I will work toward the welfare of society and the world. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Well, again, thank you for being here or viewing this service. And I also, Shelley already gave thank yous, but I must thank Shelley Yamane Shinmoto for being our chairperson, Alan Goto for the videography and tech support, Kyoko Okura Gibbs for the flowers and preparing the Naijin, and for the organ playing, we have Kathy Kumagai, who also provides tech support. This is our Shotsuki Hoyo service for the month of July. If you lost a friend or a family member in the month of July, please accept my sincere condolences. I read these lists, you know. I've been here, this is my 10th year. I'd read these lists, and the names were all foreign to me, and they even mispronounce it. You know, I used to do the John Kehoe, used to be Kehoe, John Kehoe. Now I read this list, and oh man, I knew 10 of these people, you know, and these memories come up. I miss those people too. I remember Yuki Okazaki helping me, showing me how to close the gate. Every time I close the gate, I think of Yuki Okazaki. She's the one that showed me how you got to get that little thing down in there or else it won't close, you know. I think of Misa every time I think of nursing homes, because she told us about the problems she had there. We talked to them, other friends talked to them, family talked to them, and it got better. All these people remind me of something, you know. I remember Ted Inouye, when he knew he was winding down to his last days, and he told somebody, he had a sense of humor, and so he said, you know, if I want to send you a message, I'll leave coins on the ground. You know, that's sweet, because you always see coins on the ground. So, you know, now when I see a coin on the ground, I think of Ted Inouye, you know. So yeah, these were real people, and it's important that we remember them, and reading their names is something that I am privileged to do each month. Losing people to death is awful. It's just a terrible thing. It really is. We all know that we must die one day and that those we love will as well. It's part of the natural order of things, we say. But natural is not always good. Hurricanes are natural. Earthquakes are natural. Ephedra's organic. Opium's organic, you know. Just because it's natural doesn't mean you ought to indulge in it right now. Natural is not always good, but we are all a part of the natural order. The natural order itself needs tweaking. We must start by getting back to nature, by getting closer to nature, and by helping nature to get closer to where she was before we started to mess her up. But even that will not be enough to do what needs to be done, to relieve suffering and bring joy and happiness to every living thing, which is what needs to be done. And it's just not this one highly entitled species of ape, the Homo sapiens, who says this isn't all right. It's not all right. The conditions of life are not all right. They're really not. And yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get Alan a copy of these photos. You can take a look when you come up here. Alan might want to just shoot it on the screen for a second because you can't see it on the internet. But it's a picture of these three animals grieving. This was something I put out there originally for the pet memorial service. And I think you can see that each of these animals is feeling the same thing that we might when being bereaved. There's, when you come up to Oshoku again or at the end of the service, you might take a closer look. But the first one's a picture of a bird standing by her mate, chirping no doubt in plaintive tones, chirping, standing by the corpse of her mate. And you know what she's thinking. She's thinking, why did he have to die? He was always good to me. He was never mean. Why should he die? The birds think that. It's not just us. Look at the picture of the camel crying next to her deceased child. And she seems to be thinking, she was always sweet and gentle. She never complained. How could this happen? How could this happen? The animals feel that just the same way we do. And maybe the third picture is easiest for us to relate to, the monkey, with whom we share a frighteningly percentage of our genetics. The monkey is feeling and thinking in monkey terms what we would think in our terms, which is, it's not fair. He was loving and playful. Why should he fall? This is wrong. Nature is wrong. The conditions of life are wrong. And the only way we can start is by being natural and being who we are and getting back to who we are, and then hoping to be good to one another. we have degraded nature with incautious industry, and we are in a state of affairs that psychologically and morally speaking is below our natural state. It is not wide-angled progress throughout history. History is not the march of justice through history. History is not a march of justice. Many of you have heard me often quote the passage from Joyce's Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man when Joyce's namesake, Stephen Dedalus, is being lectured by the history prof after school. And he's saying, look, our history is the march of justice through history. And Joyce says two things that are interesting, and the one I'll quote is justice, one of those big words that makes us so unhappy. But we can't help it. It's not right. The bird shouldn't have died. The camel shouldn't be dead. It was just a toddler. The monkey shouldn't be dead. He was just a toddler swinging through the trees. He missed his grip. He fell. Shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be like this. We have to get back to nature and then move beyond the current state of things. We need to heal our environment, return things to a more natural rhythm. We need to heal ourselves and become more natural, more part of nature, and then we have to help nature to move into more peaceful and gentle modes of being. We humans also need to drop our pretensions. We are just one variety of ape. We are the smartest ape. We are the smartest animals on the planet by a long shot. But we are animals on the planet. They are all our brothers and sisters, or our cousins if you can't think of them as closer than that. And we need to move around more than most humans do. We've gotten away from the natural way of our way of living. This is something that really I only learned this a few years ago. People only knew this for maybe 10 or 20 years, that amongst apes, we're the only ones that need to move all the time. If you put chimpanzees in a 20 by 20 yard area and feed them for a couple years, in 2 years, they're perfectly healthy and happy. If you put human beings in a 20 by 20 enclosure and just sit around and eat, don't exercise, don't walk much, we'll be fat and sick. We'll have cardiovascular disease, respiratory disease. It's just the kind of nature that we are. Our nature is to move around. And one thing that I think we're discovering, I think the researchers have figured out, is it doesn't matter much how long you walk. What matters is how often you walk. We got to get up and move around. That's how we used to be before we did this village city thing about 4,000 years ago. For 200,000 years, we were hunter-gatherers and we're always on the move. So we got to learn what our nature is and be true to that nature. And nature isn't perfect. We got to change some of nature. Nature has to change some of itself through us and through other living beings. We are each a biological person, each of us, and we're the kind of biological persons that need to move around a lot. Not true for chimpanzees. We gotta move. So we do need to become more natural, more in tune with nature, which for all of us will mean, among other things, becoming less sedentary and becoming a little more active. Again, probably important to move around every hour a little bit. You don't have to go for an hour walk. Instead, every hour, walk around for 2 minutes. That's probably better. But that won't fix everything either. The natural order of things is not perfect. Those tectonic plates shouldn't mash into one another the way they do and cause these earthquakes and tsunamis. It's a mistake. Everything being natural would not be everybody and everything being hunky-dory. Things are not hunky-dory. Nobody knows where that term came from. I looked it up. It means perfect. It means copacetic. I don't know. I bet they know where that came from, but nobody knows where hunky-dory came from. That was the early version of copacetic. I've always wondered if copacetic has other forms like copacesia. Can you be in a state of copacesia? I'm not sure, but you can be in a state of hunky-dory, but I don't know anybody who is. If we go green to the point that global warming ceases, everything will still not be all right. We'll still have earthquakes and hurricanes. Cats will still play with wounded birds before they eat them alive. I don't know what the cats are thinking when they do that, but it's torture for the birds. Somebody heard my story. I interrupted a cat trying to kill a bird in our yard, and then I protected the bird until it died, and there I am, I mean, should I have left it alone, It would have died sooner, and it had less duration of pain and suffering if I'd have left it alone. But by protecting it from the cat, part of its last knowledge is, here's another animal that cares about me, that doesn't want me to hurt. So you don't know what to do. We make action, we generate karma. It's always mixed. Some good effects, some bad effects, some neutral effects. We don't know how to do the perfect thing. We need to be more natural human beings, return to being more natural human beings, and then we have to help nature move in more wholesome directions. Can we do that? Can all living beings together do that? Well, if we have time, we can. Our basic sutra, we talk about our founder, Shinran Shonin, to his portrait to the far left there a lot in his writings, but we also have these three fundamental teachings, and they're in the sutras are in those scrolls there. The first two scrolls, the one I'm going to talk about just now, the Daimyo Jukyo, the largest sutra on Amida Buddha. The middle one is the Kamuryo Jukyo, the sutra on how to contemplate Amida Buddha. And the closer one to me is the Amida Kyo, a shorter version of the sutra on Amida Buddha. This larger sutra on Amida Buddha has a passage. These are all compilations. They were in pieces, teachings given here, teachings given there, and they came together as written text eventually. And there's one section which is a question and answer. And the speaker, which is Shakyamuni Buddha in the text, asks, could a person empty a lake with a spoon? Kind of an interesting question. Symbolic, of course. Could a person empty a lake with a spoon? And the answer is yes. Yes, you could. It'll take some time. Just like making things better on earth for every living being, it'll take some time. The way I could empty a lake with a spoon, and the way I would do that is, as the sutra tells me, I spend the rest of my time, is that 5 years, or 5 days, or 20 years? The rest of my time I spend emptying that lake with a spoon. Just imagine, for some reason, it's important to empty this lake. Okay, got to do it. And so I'm emptying a spoon. Well, I'm getting old now, I'm already 75. Well, in my feeble last moments, I pass the spoon to my son. And he spends his lifetime emptying that lake until he is old and feeble, and he passes the spoon to his daughter. And in time, the lake will be empty. And this is an image to help us to understand that the Buddha can take us into the light, that the heart and the mind of the Buddha can include everyone in goodness, purity. It's just going to take some time. It's just going to take some time. How long? How long to improve the quality of life on Earth for all living beings? Oh, probably about 500 million years. But that's not so long. In the universe, they're saying now, we think it's supposed to be 13.4 billion years the universe has been here. And now people are saying, well, it might be twice that long. We don't know. It's so long, it doesn't even make sense to us. But we could do this. We can do this moving forward. All living beings moving into the light, into goodness, into wholesome living. We can do this. You and I have plenty of time to begin to live more naturally, eat less, eat more healthily, walk more. And we can lead nature along with all living beings into this better way of living. There's got to be better ways of population control than the ones that are used by praying mantises and black widows. We've got to find new forms of population control for black widows. I could empty a lake. The Buddha can empty this world of suffering and fill it with joy, along with us, along with all living beings, just moving in that direction. In the next few hundred million years, the quality of life on Earth can improve dramatically. Enlightenment is underway. The illumination of all living beings and the drawing of them into goodness and purity and truth. It might take 500 million years to be complete, but with so many of us hoping for goodness, with so many beings striving for purity, this dream will come true. Am I keeping my link bright and strong in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love? Well, The really important thing to remember is that we are loved by the Buddha and we're taken in whether or not we're keeping our link bright and strong. Be kind and living to all living beings if you can. If you're irritable and nasty, it's okay. You're going to be in the irritable, nasty car at the end of the train, but we're going to get into the station. Everybody gets into the station. Nobody gets left behind. No living being left behind. Whether we're helping out or not, we're welcome. The enlightened heart and mind of the awoken ones accepts and includes us no matter what we say or do. The caring that emerges from the Buddha's pure and joyous realm is unconditional. We cannot alienate the love and forgiveness of the Buddha. So the Dharma message I'm sharing with you this morning is that the losses of loved ones through death is a great sadness. It's a sadness we must endure, but it's really not all right. There is nonetheless a limitless life that is opening itself out to us. The endless and limitless life of Amida Buddha is including us even now. The deathless light of Amida Buddha will always shine upon us protectively. We will always be welcome in the realm of the Buddha, in the realm of the Buddha. There is a movement into goodness, security, and sharing, and if we cannot be part of this change, the change that we hope to see, then we're welcome anyway. If we can be part of the change that we want to see, that's great. And if we're just going to be slackers who don't do our part, that's all right too. Everybody is welcome. Everyone pulls into the station of light. The Buddha will carry us to where we need to go anyway. What we need to do at this juncture is most especially to relax, to be who we are, to be natural, to be who we are. And whoever and whatever that is, to realize that there is no what we are that's not acceptable. The range of human variation looks real big to human beings. It's this tiny little thing. Mr. Rogers and Michael Jackson and Prince are about that much separate, you know. Whoever you think are the most unusual people on earth, they're just that different from Mr. Rogers. We aren't that different. We're all okay. Some of us are doing our part and some of us aren't. And some of us have days when we just can't. And some of us have days when we're gonna. We're all welcome. The Buddha includes all of us. The promise of enlightenment includes all of us. We need to relax, accept who we are and what we are, and be that, and let the Buddha carry us into light and gentility. And perhaps along the way, we will say the Buddha's name on occasion. It's not a prerequisite, it's not the sine qua non, but one way we remember this promise of light, goodness, and sharing, one way we remember the promise of enlightenment, one way we recall what that station of light is that we're just about to pull into is by saying the Buddha's name. So in closing the Dharma message portion of the sutra, I will ask those of you who wish to join me in saying the Buddha's name a few times in any form you want to. We rely upon the source of limitless wisdom and endless life. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Any form of Nembutsu as you wish. We rely upon the source of limitless wisdom and endless life. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sensei. Will the Sangha please rise for closing meditation? Enlightenment exists solely because of delusion and ignorance. If they disappear, so will enlightenment. And the opposite is true also. Delusion and ignorance exist because of enlightenment. When enlightenment ceases, ignorance and delusion will also cease. Therefore, be on guard against thinking of enlightenment as a thing to be grasped, because it too may become an obstruction. When the mind that was in darkness becomes enlightened, it disappears, and with its passing, the thing we call enlightenment will also disappear. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Who has announcements? have one. If you or anybody you know has not volunteered for an Obon shift, can you please see me? Because I'll schedule you somewhere.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to see you all today. It's the first weekend of July. Next weekend is a big weekend for us because Saturday we have our temple cleanup. And so from 9 o'clock to about noon, we're going to be dusting and sweeping, and the BWA will be taking all the ornaments down and shining them all up so we're ready for our Obon services. And next Sunday is our special Obon and Hatsubon service. And we have a guest minister speaking, Bishop Harada. So if you've never heard him, he will be here next week. And I'm hoping he's bringing Freddie the Frog. Did you talk to Sensei? Is he bringing Freddie?
I didn't remind me of that, but I will. I'll have that. I'll have him send an email to that.
Freddie the Frog helps Bishop Harada explain things to us. So if you've never, well, I've only seen Freddie the Frog once, but if you've never seen Bishop Harada speak, please come next Sunday. And I know it'll be a very special service for the Hatsubon families also.
He does it lamb chop style.
Lamb chop style? Sherry Lewis.
That she didn't try to, she wasn't ventriloquist, she's talk, her lips would move, but you're looking at the lamb chops.
Right.
You're supposed to look there, don't look there.
And so we still have Obon dance practices Tuesdays and Thursday nights, starting from 7 to 8. And it's so good to see some of you that have been coming to that. And again, like Shelley says, if you haven't volunteered yet, talk to her because we have a lot of slots open.
I'm refreshing the incense. If you did not have a chance to offer incense, you can do it more than once if you want to. But if you didn't have a chance to, you might want to. Before you leave, we have fresh incense burning in the corner. And other than that, what day is this? It's the 7th. So Tuesday, we will have meditation class at 6 p.m. and dance practice, alone dance practice at 7. Tai Chi at 1 p.m. Tai Chi 1 p.m. Tuesday and Thursday. And that's about all I'm doing this week. And again, as Jeannie told you, we really hope to see you back here next Sunday when Bishop Harada will be our guest speaker. So this will conclude our service. Thank you so much for being here today. No, we don't.